Hello, I am Emily Ropars. I'm an inclusion specialist with Early Choices, and I am so excited to have Rachel Miller from Tinley Park here to talk about transition. So, Rachel, do you just want to give a quick introduction of how long you've been with Tinley Park and a little bit about your classroom?
Of course. Yes, hello, I'm Rachel Miller. I am an early learning teacher in Tinley Park for a blended early learning program. Um, it's a lot of fun. I love it. This is my second year teaching, so I'm still learning all the ropes and everything. But I got my first year down and we're almost ending with our second year. So
Yeah,
it's
it's
been
flying
fun.
by.
Yes,
Yeah.
it is.
So I had the pleasure of observing your classroom, and when you told me it was your second year, I was absolutely blown away. One of the things that really stood out to me was how you support transitions for children in your classroom. So again, the blended classroom, you have children with and without disabilities, and the district where you work has been completely inclusive. All the children with disabilities are served in the regular education classroom with their peers who don't have disabilities, and I think that's been that way since the 90s. You have a really established program of
Yes.
inclusive practices.
Yes.
Yeah,
No,
I
that's why
love
I
that.
love working here. It's amazing, and just learning new things as we go is amazing as well. And just doing everything we can for these little kiddos.
So let's talk about kind of classroom wide. How do you prepare and support children for the transitions that we all have in early childhood classrooms?
Yes. So I have an amazing team that I work with, so that definitely plays a role into it. We're very good at communicating with each other. My team that I work with usually consists of I have two other early learning teachers that work in this building as well. Um, we get the paras involved, and our speech and OT usually are involved. We'll usually meet once a week, schedule time. We'll meet once a week just to brainstorm and come up with ideas, but we are usually communicating every day, coming up with new ideas and what we can do to help these kiddos, especially with the transitioning, because transitioning is kind of one of my number one things that I always wanted to accomplish, because if you can get transitioning down, it kind of makes the classroom flow go a little better. So,
Yeah, that's true. It's hard for all children, and particularly it can be hard for children with disabilities. So I'd love to hear how you then, so you have all these classroom wide things that you do to support children. What kind of resources are you using visually or
yeah.
auditorily to support kids?
So we love using a lot of visuals. Visuals help all the students in the classroom. Um, Especially these young ones, just because they're still learning the rules and routines, and if they could visually see it, that's like the number one thing. And when we use visuals, we try to use the visuals of the exact, like, of take pictures of the kids in the classroom so they can actually see them doing it. So
Mhm.
with like my playground rules, we actually have the rules on my visual, and then we have the students actually doing those rules. So when we go over it before we go outside, oh, we walk up the stairs. Well, I have my student walking up the stairs, and that way they could visually see, oh, look, that's me, or that's my friend. I can see that's what we're supposed to do on the playground. And just giving those expectations. Um, Another one is a visual schedule that we use on the board. So we always go through that throughout the day. So we'll start it at circle time and we'll go through it throughout the day. So like we have our arrival. If I'll ask the kids like, oh, did we do our arrival? Did we put our backpacks in our cubbies? Did we put our folders in the bin? And they'll tell me yes, then we'll go all done. And then we put it in a little all done folder at the end so that they can visually see like, okay, our arrival is all done. So it goes in the all done folder. So we're done with that. And then we just go from there throughout the day.
And Rachel, that's posted kind of along the bottom of your whiteboard so the
Yes.
kids can see it. It's right at their level.
Yep.
And
And
I,
it's horizontal.
yeah,
Instead,
so
I
it's
just
as
have it.
they go through the day.
Yep. And yep, it's all the way at the bottom of my board, so that way they can see it when they're sitting, when they're standing, it's at their visual level, so it works for them like that.
And you reference it at every transition you have. So when
Mhm.
you're whatever's finished, you make sure the children acknowledge this is what we were just doing. It's all done. You put it away,
Yep.
kind of a cue.
Yeah, and they get really excited too, because usually I'll have a friend come up and they actually put it in the all done folder, and we'll take turns with that so that they're helping me with it and they don't feel like, oh, it's just me that's putting it in the all done folder. In
Oh,
the classroom, like especially for when the kids are playing at centers, I do use, I have a doorbell. So I have my doorbell monitor who a child that has that job and they'll ring it 3 times. But before that, I do put a visual timer on the board. The kids really love the visual timers. And we'll
mhm.
even use that during our center times as well. Like if we have a lot of friends at the sensory bin and if we could only have 4 friends right there, we'll set the timer and then the kids know like, okay, when this timer is all done, you're done at the sensory bin and we're going to give another friend another turn. So it kind of helps with that transition as well when they go from center to center. So I love the visual timers.
Yeah, I love that too, because when we think about the early childhood classroom, we have those very large transitions like arrival, going to center time or going to circle time. But then there's all those little ones in between too, right? If you're going to have snack, you got to wash your hands first. So that's kind of a transition too.
Right.
So it sounds like you're using supports for all of them, the big and small.
Yes. And so we do talk together as a team and just bounce ideas off each other with our ones that have a little bit more hard of a time transitioning. But the ones oh, I don't think I have it, but I usually have their own visual schedule that it's like this size of my playground one, but it's their own visual schedule, and they'll have their little pecs that go along with my schedule that I have on the board, so it has the same peck picture, and they'll do it on their own. So and then there'll be the all done pocket in the back of it. So once they're done with arrival, they'll do it on their own board while we're doing it up there, and they pull it off and put it in the back. Sometimes my kids do need help with like hand over hand learning how to do it, but the visual schedules do help if like my pair is working with one of my students one-on-one and they just have their own visual schedule right there for them. Another thing that I do is I have this other little schedule. It's a go, almost done, and stop. Right now I have centers on there, but I did have a playground visual on there. I did have a little student that had a hard time coming off the playground because of course the kids, they never want to come off the playground. So we did use this. So when it was time to go to the playground, I would have my student put the playground picture on go. Then when we had like 5 minutes left of the playground, I would say, okay, we have 5 minutes left. Let's move it to almost done. So they would move it to almost done. And then we have a cowbell that we ring so the kids know that the playground time, we're all done. We need to go get our backpacks and go home. They would move it to the stop and we would say, okay, stop, playground's all done. So this visual kind of helped them see it with, the colors and our words on it as well as they move like the playground picture or for the centers as well. Did have some students have a hard time coming into the classroom when we were starting our day. So what I normally would do, and it worked out very well, is I had a student that is really into numbers. So I would cut out numbers and laminate them and I would stick them all down the hallway. So the student would, see number one. Oh, we got number one. Now let's go get number two. So they would have to pick off number two and then go to 3, 4, 5. And then they finally made it to 9. And then that's when they would come into the classroom. And that really helped my one student with transitioning into the classroom. And I've used that for other things too. I also had another student who was really into Baby Shark. So I would put Baby Shark down the hallway, and then I had little baby sharks on a popsicle stick. And I'm like, oh, let's go match the baby sharks. And that helped her really get down the hallway as well. So you could do a lot, especially if they're having a hard time coming in, doing a lot with, I mean, we have such a long hallway that we could do a lot with putting things on there to kind of get the kids to transition into the classroom. I'm always connecting with families. Um we do a lot of social stories. So if we do a social story in the classroom, I make sure to send a social story home. So especially with some of my kids that have a hard time coming into the classroom, I do have a time to go to school social story. So I tell the parents, I'm like, if you can read this before they come to school, and then we'll also read it to them here just so they're hearing it. But have had a few parents say, that social story worked out great. They really loved it because I also used my own picture in there, so they were able to see, oh, there's Mrs. Miller, and I try to use their pictures as well, so they're very interested in the story. So also what I use is I try to make it consistent and the same through at home and here. So I always tell parents, we are big on visual timers and kind of allowing the kids to see like, oh, our timer's almost out. That's when we're done. So I would always talk about that with parents. If parents come to me saying, I'm really having a hard time with little Johnny because he doesn't want to clean up. He just wants to keep playing, but we need to clean up and then, go have dinner or something. So then I would talk to them and I say, this is what we do in class. We use those visual timers so they can make that connection like, oh, once the timer's done, then it's time to clean up our toys. I try to help the parents as much as I can because, I always tell the parents, I'm like, we're a team. We're all here to help together. So if we can make it consistent between home and school and try to make it the same, the easier the better. It helps. So it's nice when the parents are on board and you know they're appreciative of the help too, because their help with us is just, I love it. It's amazing. So it's great when it works both ways.
Well, thank you so much for sharing all your strategies that you use and showing some examples of the visuals that you use. I really appreciate your time and your wisdom.
Of course, thank you so much for having me.